And we are back, folks, here on another edition of the Michigan Insider and live here on the Big 1050 WTKA online on the big1050.com. And back in studio, a monthly check-in with Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel in studio. Glad that you can drop in celebratory mood, I'm sure, as your basketball programs, plural, are both in the NCAA tournament. Congratulations, sir. How are you this morning?
You know what? I'm in a great mood this morning. What a terrific 2 weekends for both of the teams, and then to see the men's basketball team lift that trophy was just so special for so many reasons, obviously. But obviously, the to go from last to first to win a tournament is just an amazing job that Dusty, his staff, and those young men did to perform the way they did. And ending the season, again, nobody thought, we would have the success that we had and win the tournament. I don't know what the stats were and what the line was and the possibility and the percentages that come up of them winning. But, against a lot of people who didn't think they could do it, they achieved the success that they knew they could if they played like they played. And so it was just a special weekend to watch that. And then, to see the ladies play and what they did and how they played against Maryland and that level of play, 3 freshmen starting and the way that our seniors and came together and led that team this year. Again, almost a rebuild in a way, so what both Dusty and Kim did deserve the accolades that they deserve, and Kim this year becoming the winningest coach in Michigan basketball history. You think about the history of where our women's basketball program was back when I was here, and I played as a student athlete to where she has got it now. It's just amazing to watch. And so looking forward to being there with both teams and bouncing around a little bit. But that's the fun part. You want to do that. You want, as an AD, to have to go to multiple sites for your team. I won't be able to, because the game is so late on Thursday, won't be able to make the 11:30 start for on Friday, but I'll be watching and we'll be able to get there on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's to watch coaches coach, the kind of the psychology of coaching. I always try to observe and learn about how they do what they do. Watching Kim rebuild her team. I mean, she suffered what coaches suffer these days, where attrition through the portal, unexpected attrition through the portal, where she had to basically rebuild her team on the fly. And she was able to do that. I'm curious what you noticed and learning about how she was able to overcome that attrition and build her team on the fly like that, what you learned and watching her do that. And then to piggyback on that, what you learned and watching Dusty as the team kind of toward the end of the season curtailed, and then they get in the Big Ten tournament and they pick things up and win the whole thing, what you learned watching him in that process.
I think the word that comes to mind for both of them is perseverance, right? That, there are times when you're going to have challenges in life, and we're all about teaching kids. I mean, this is also young people who are learning as well, that when adversity strikes, there's 2 options. One, you can allow it to beat you down and own you, or 2, you could work through it and battle through it and persevere to the other side of that adversity. And so for me, both of them, just led these teams in the changes and the twists and the turns that they had to make to build the team, right? Now, she knew coming in, she had a bunch of outstanding freshmen coming in. And so when you have that and you have that knowledge, then you can build around that. But they're young, right? They're young freshmen. Once I was a freshman, and you can see the same, experience is a great teacher, if you will. And so both Kim and Dusty, I think, persevered. Their teams persevered. They engaged with them, brought them together in a way that bonded them to play together. And it was just tremendous to watch both as they develop this team. And I will also give credit, as they do, to their staffs, you know, in what they did to gel that team, to pull that team, to pick the right kids, to pull them together and lead as well. And then lastly, it all comes down to, you know, you can teach, you can coach, you can do all you want to do. The players have to play. Yeah, and they did in both cases. And through adversity, there were some hard games on the women's side, some defeats that you thought, man, that's just not characteristics, right? Is this going to take us down or lift us up? And the same thing with, like you said, the adversity of the last 3 games of the season for our men's team. They were disappointed in themselves and all the things that happened, and they wanted to show. I mean, they basically said at one point, one of them said to me, you know, we knew the type of team we were. We just weren't showing it. Mm-hmm. You know, we weren't playing with the fun that we started the season with, you know. And so for that, for me, to see it all come together was really special for both, because I know the adversity that Kim went through and how she felt about it initially, and then to work through it, and then Dusty bringing him in. We had 3 student athletes left on the team. Some of them already had left. Some were still in the portal when he got here and then decided to leave. So I think we had 4 young men on the team left, 4 or 5, and then he built the rest. And so, you know, for me, it's just special to see them, to support them, to have them build the way they built it for this season. You're right; it changes every year now, right? Almost every semester, depending on, you know, which team. In the fall teams, it's almost every semester. You know, you had 2 portal windows. You know, here we have 1 portal window. So now it's just one of those things, Sam, that I'm touched by how much they endured and persevered and led those teams to the success we have.
All right, so Michigan men's basketball Big Ten tournament champions.
Yes.
That is
an
accolade to be proud of. In the first year, Dusty May becomes the first coach to do that in his first year.
And that's special.
Yeah, that is very special. Yeah. That has meaning. And it should have meaning when it comes to let me not editorialize. Let me just ask you a non-leading question.
Okay.
On what you think the impact of the Big Ten tournament has on seeding. What your impression or what your thought is before this Michigan seed was, what you thought the impact that was, and what you think it is now that you've seen Michigan seed. Just your overall thoughts on Michigan getting the 5 seed and where you think that is now.
Yeah, let me put a bunch of caveats out there. Okay. Having served on the CFP committee, it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard, the committee members invest a lot of time, a lot of effort, look at a lot of film, look at games, details, study statistics, do all these different things. And the teams that got in, I have all respect and glad for, particularly our Big Ten team, my Big Ten colleagues who got in. So anything I say after that, I just want people to understand we're going to play the game. We're glad to be in the tournament. We're glad to be a 5. We're going to play the 12. We're going to go out to Denver. All the things that people say, oh, this is terrible. It's terrible. No. If I would have told people last year, after that season, that next year, I promise you, we're going to go to the NCAA and we'll probably be a 5 seed or better, I think I'd have been fired. I think people would have thought I lost my mind after last year to say that. So I want to put that in our fans' perspective of where we are and what we achieved. And we won the Big Ten tournament, and we finished seeded third, tied for 2nd in the regular season. This is a special year, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not complaining, but I am going to give some observations. In the CFP selection process, compare side by side, different number of games in what we sit and look at in football and what we sit and look at in basketball. But unlike football, in the schedule, everybody at least plays everybody once in basketball in our conference. Head-to-head matters when we analyze it in football. So you asked me a question. I think going into the tournament, people said we were a 5. What was the impact of winning the Big Ten championship? In my mind, probably nothing. And that's where I have the issue. Teams have similar records. Our record at the end was the same as Purdue's or Wisconsin, I believe.
And Michigan finished with the same record as Maryland.
No, but I'm saying overall.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. I believe it's 26-9. Purdue had 2 more losses than we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, that, and I'm setting that up to say we are equivalent teams. In the conference, we won more than both of them. Okay. So in that way, we're different. In the end, we played Wisconsin twice.
Mm-hmm.
We were 2-0. We played Purdue 3 times, and we're 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we do that, you would expect, at least from my vantage point, that head-to-head would matter, not statistics on a piece of paper. And even in all the statistics that I looked at, Sam, with 300 some odd teams, we were in the 20s. One of them, Purdue, might have been 10 or 19, one of them. But that's very, very close to each other, all in the quad 1. And so we had more quad 1 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so in other words, it befuddles me to understand how, given all of that, like teams, head-to-head shouldn't matter. When you finally go to seeding, somebody should say, whoa, that doesn't look right. It can't be that we have a team seated behind 2 teams in their league that team beat twice and only lost 1 time. They were 4-1 against the two teams ahead of us, right? So that's the only thing I would say to the committee. And I have a lot of friends. I haven't talked to them about it on the committee. And, Mark Coyle from Minnesota is a great, great guy, great athletic director. And I have not talked to him about this. I haven't talked to anybody on the league. This is just my reaction because I'm not complaining. I want to make sure people understand. And when people take my quotes, if they take them and they put them out there, please put the caveat that Warde said he appreciates it. He understands. He's glad. Our team is happy. Nobody's complaining. Dusty and I didn't talk about it. He didn't complain to me. I mean, so this is just, you asked me a question. It's my visceral reaction to the question that it just is. It's just.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm complaining. So I'm complaining. You're not complaining, or I'm complaining. And because you know them, I'm not asking you to speak for them, but I'm asking you to offer me a perspective because you know them. So Bubba Cunningham is the chair.
Yeah.
Right? And he's the athletic director for North Carolina. And so one of his comments was that Michigan was inconsistent in the non-conference. That was one of the things he said. He said, I think Michigan was a little bit inconsistent in my mind this year. As I was watching them play, they had a great year, not quite as consistent as we had thought. They had some early losses in the non-conference.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Michigan had 3 non-conference losses by a total of 5 points in neutral site games.
Yeah.
And they were 2 seed lines lower than Wisconsin, who had a home win over Arizona. So that's worth 2 seed lines. 2 seed lines.
Yeah.
You're going to value a non-conference win in the early season that much when Michigan went to Madison in that same span of time in the early season and beat them on their home court. You're going to value that much. And then you're telling me late in the season when Michigan beats Wisconsin again, that doesn't mean as much.
Mm-hmm.
That they go on a run, they win 3 straight games, they beat 3 tournament teams. That basically doesn't have as much meaning as that early season success. And then at the same time, make this make sense. So Michigan, you're saying that these 5 close losses, you're going to basically say that's just so bad that it puts them down those 2 seed lines, saying that just is so bad. But you look at Carolina making the tournament. You basically gave them credit just for playing a tough schedule. They lost all those games, Ward.
Mm-hmm.
They lost them all. They didn't win any of them.
Right.
But they got credit just for playing them.
Right.
Michigan lost close games. And you said, they're not consistent. We got to ding them 2 seed lines. Make it make sense to me. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I know this is not you, but I'm asking you to make this make sense to me.
Well, first of all, I love your passion about it. It gets me going, gets me excited. First of all, listen, Bubba has been a friend for a long time. We've known each other. I have full confidence in his leadership and his integrity about everything. For me, there's zero question about it. That being said, I totally disagree with his assessment. This is why you play a season. You don't play a non-conference and, lose those games and all of a sudden that's the rationale for where the team is at the end of the season when you're putting a tournament together and you're seeding the tournament. You're going to tell me, well, we're going to look at the non-conference to determine where teams are placed now. Head to head matters. Conference play matters. Don't give me, we're going to go to the beginning of a year to determine how we're going to seed at the end of the year. That's what we're doing now. The reality is teams build, the season builds up and it gets to the end point where they have to make their final decision. It is disappointing to know that their rationale would go back to the beginning of the year, to your point, where we lose games by less than 3 points. That's going to cause us to be behind 2 opponents who we beat head to head twice. I got zero understanding myself of that kind of rationale as to how we're seeding tournament teams in a tournament. If we're not going to consider the conference play, let's not play conference games. Let's just not play conference tournaments. In other words, on the CFP on the other side, we get dinged because we wait until the conference championships to determine our final ranking. We evaluate that. That's what the commissioners have asked us to do. So we do it. But it seems like the mind was made up that no matter what happened in that conference championship, we weren't changing where the Big Ten was seated. Because to his comments, it meant that it didn't matter what the conference play was. Because we've determined, based on your non-conference, where you're going to be. That, to me, is disappointing in the sense of, then why play the conference games?
Yeah, they definitely
the tournament game.
Yeah, you look at Purdue, and I give Purdue credit. They beat Alabama.
Absolutely.
They beat Ole Miss.
No, I take nothing away from Wisconsin and Purdue are great. They can make great runs in this tournament. Michigan State had an outstanding year, obviously the regular season champs. Those kind of things. I'm not any of my arguments. I'm going to continue to say that this takes nothing away from anybody else. This has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with the evaluative process of how we determine the seeding. Yeah. And for me, having had the experience with the CFP, where head-to-head really matters, that's the part that for me is disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it definitely seems like they're overvaluing the non-conference, or they're undervaluing the Big Ten, or both.
Third, I think we're ranked third in the net, which they talk about a lot, right? The conferences. If we're third in the net, you can't undervalue the Big Ten.
That's
you cannot.
You shouldn't. But for some reason, they, like I said, they definitely are giving Purdue a ton of credit for, and they should give them a ton of credit for beating Alabama and beating Ole Miss. But Purdue hit the skids just like Michigan did.
And they should give us a ton of credit for beating the team twice who beat those teams.
They should. I'm right there with you. Because Purdue had a similar skid in season like Michigan, and then recovered, but Michigan recovered more and beat them down the stretch.
Correct.
So why doesn't Michigan get credit? Okay, so now let's talk about an adjustment. They did what they did, and they're going to do what they do. Now, how do you, as an AD, and how do we? I'm talking about the collective we, and I'm not including myself in the mix, but I'm putting myself in a role-playing sense in the mix, saying we as a collective in the Big Ten adjust to how they are doing this. All right. If they're going to say, we got the decision made by the time you play the Big Ten championship game, do you need to now say, all right, fellas, we need to move our game up?
Maybe, actually. Maybe. Not only that, in my opinion, why play on a Sunday? If they're going to take any of the teams who are playing on a Sunday and put us on Thursday, and then tell us you care about, we care in the general sense, and I know they do, the NCAA, about the kids. And we're playing on a Sunday. Our championship, highlighting games before they go into their selection. And you're going to take the winner of that and put them in a bracket and say, yep, it doesn't matter that they just played. We're going to put them on a Thursday. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. Again, it's another time where we're looking at something and we're saying, what is the best outcome for those teams? It goes to, and I don't believe this, I want to make sure, again, people understand. I don't believe it. But this leads to people saying, well, why? It's better for us to lose. We're going to be the 5 anyway. If that's where you had us slotted 2 weeks before we even played the tournament, not them, the people who talk and the analysts talked about it, it wasn't them releasing them. Then why play the game? To win the tournament, so that we play until Sunday at 5:30 at night and then realize we got to go Thursday and play at 10 o'clock Eastern? It leads people to say, why? What good does it do us long term if our goal is to win a national championship, which it is, in which we have the opportunity to do no matter where we're slotted? Then we need to really evaluate where we are, and I think look at it as a league and say, if this is the way they're going to treat our champion of our tournament, then let's maybe think about moving it earlier, and not being the showcase tournament prior to the CBS announcement of the tournament.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, listen, fine. Just don't, if it doesn't count in the sense of helping the team seeding,
right?
Fine, but just don't hurt us, would be my stance. And not that I have any say, that would be my position. Don't hurt me.
Don't disrespect the Big Ten champion. This is not just about Michigan. This is about this conference. If we're the third highest rated conference, don't disrespect the champion of that conference tournament by taking them from Sunday and putting them on Thursday. I don't care who we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what seed we are. Don't do it. It doesn't make sense to do. There's a way for them to figure out how to do it and put that conference, those teams that play in that conference on a Friday. You can't tell me there's not. They can't say, oh, well, logistically, we just can't find a way. That's not true.
Hey, look, there are some national pundits who feel the same. I mean, it's not just Matt Norlander from CBS. I mean, you're on it, by the way, Matt. I think you do a great job at what you do. He's like, hey, man, Michigan got screwed. That's a quote. And I agree with you, Matt, by the way. So just want to shout him out.
Listen, I don't go all the way to screwed because, again, this team is excited to play on Thursday at 10 p.m. They're excited if they played on Friday at 10 p.m. You get me?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is not about this team or Dusty. I just want to make sure people understand I'm reacting to decisions made, not because I'm disappointed that we're playing in the tournament at 5. No, I'm not disappointed. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
there's a difference.
Fairness,
I want our fans to understand there's a complete difference about there's nothing. I get home. She's gonna kill me for saying this. I get home, my wife says to me, "Did you call them and complain and put up appeal to the process?" And I go, "Honey, I can't, do that, And then somebody else asked me that later that day. I was talking to somebody on the phone, and they asked me, and I go, "I can't, it's not like it's gonna change. Even if I put in appeal the decision, it's not gonna change." So no. It's nothing that way, but it's just the lack of understanding of how we could get to this position given my experience on the college football playoff committee. Mm-hmm. That's just where having that knowledge now makes it completely a different understanding of how things are ranked.
So last question on this, because I want to move over to football and spring football.
Awesome.
Is there being on a committee, there has to be an instance, a time where, you aren't infallible. Is there ever an instance where you don't get it right and you say you don't get it right? Does that happen? Can that happen?
I think individual members at times will say to you, I'm not sure that we got it right. As a committee, all you could do is discuss, vote, and produce an outcome. Now, I think it works similar in basketball, whereas the chair, I never knew who voted which way. We never knew individually who voted what. Only 2 people in the room just to make sure the computers were right and everybody got in, know who it was, who voted where. But I'm never told, don't know how. But ultimately, it comes down to a vote. Mm-hmm. So individual members may say to themselves or maybe to each other, we don't talk about it, and I don't want them to talk about it or expect them to talk about it publicly. And that's why I didn't call any of them, right? Because I respect ultimately the committee's decision, even though if I don't understand it, I respect it, even though I may not appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And so for them, they put a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, and then they vote. And the vote comes out. And I'm sure there may have been some that voted Michigan ahead of the other 2 that we're talking about today in our conference. But it is the reality is it's a very hard thing to do. And at times you all you could do is say, ultimately, we had a lot of discussion, a lot of debate. We looked at a lot of data. We talked about everything that's going on. But, if I see Bubba, I'll say, man, you can't, as a committee, talk about why a team got to where they are with similar records to other teams and then say it was the non-conference. That's not a good look for our college basketball and for our tournament. You can't go back to that and argue that, well, Purdue had better non-conference wins. When we beat them head-to-head twice, 2-1. You can't say Wisconsin had better non-conference wins when we beat them head-to-head twice at their place and a neutral site. You can't do it. And so, again, I've spoken enough about this. We're happy. I'm excited. We're leaving this afternoon to go to Denver. Excited about it. Looking forward to it. This team is excited. Dusty's excited. And so we're going to play and have fun. I'm reacting to the question.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I didn't publicly put out a statement or anything like that. I'm just, you know, we knew coming in that this day would be in between the tournament and going to the NCAAs. And so it just happens to be my visceral reaction.
Yeah, and I admit setting a spirited tone with the question. I admit that. Spring football. It's in the air. Practice starts today. And so very, very exciting time. Definitely want to get your thoughts on second spring football term for Sharon Moore. And then more broadly, there's a phenomena kind of going on across the college football landscape where you have different programs kind of moving away from the concept of spring games. Mm-hmm. And I wonder about your thoughts on that. That obviously is not something that is happening here in this particular cycle. But what do you think of that notion? Is that something that you see on the horizon? What do you think of that going on these days?
First of all, excited about the start of spring ball, as I am every spring. You know, just a great time, you know, for our young players and our returners to get back and, you know, learning and working together in that atmosphere. And looking forward to the spring game on April 19th, and we will have spring games, spring practice, however it's coordinated. You know, we will, as long as we having a spring practice, we'll have a spring game for our fans. This is about for our fans. The notion that having a spring game gives people a vision into your team. Every coach in our conference, and we look at nationally, knows the rosters of the other team. It doesn't matter what those kids do in spring ball. Nobody's going to go, oh my God, he had a great spring ball game against his own team. Look at that catch he made in practice as he was going down the field. I want that kid. If that's what we're doing, then we got a problem. We got a major problem if we think people don't know who's on your roster and their skills and ability coming out of high school, whether they played last year or not. I mean, it just is fascinating to me that, you know, our coaches or administrators who feel like spring ball, you know, is a way for people to look at your roster and pick and choose during the portal period. And that I don't want to play in front of our fans. I don't want to give my fans an opportunity to come see our kids in a controlled scrimmage or a practice type atmosphere. I love it for our fans. We want our fans to be there, to engage with our student athletes, to see them, to get a chance to see some of the mid-years who are coming in actually, you know, perform again. It could be in a practice setting. It could be in a controlled scrimmage or whatever it is. And so for me, it's not problematic. Again, our coaches know who's on each other's rosters. I mean, if those kids certain kids enter the portal, they're going to go after them because they know who they are, whether they play in the spring game or not. That's the reality of it. Is it to me not a time to step away from playing the spring game? This is the second most popular sport in the country. Our fans deserve an opportunity, if they so choose, to come sit in Michigan Stadium and watch our kids perform in a spring game. Now, sometimes depending on injuries, it becomes a practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's smart on behalf of the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it becomes a controlled scrimmage with the younger kids, the freshmen or sophomores freshmen going to be sophomores, incoming freshmen who haven't played. But it's still an opportunity for our fans to engage with our student athletes. And so I'm looking forward to it.
There was a question. I mean, obviously, spring game has been a free experience for fans. But some are wondering, might this be one of those revenue generators in the future?
Yes. Yes, it might. No, the reality is, I sort of, it's a half joke that we looked at it. We've talked about whether or not we do, have a ticket price for our spring game in order to generate revenue. And, I go back and forth, Sam. I mean, it really is an opportunity. We don't do a lot of things where we give back to our fans. And this is an opportunity to give to our fans and to open our doors to people. We have a waiting list, and to people who may not have a chance to come to a regular season game and may not have the tickets available or whatever. So, and a way to say to our fans who do buy the tickets and our donors who do buy the tickets, come on in, watch a practice, watch a controlled scrimmage and a spring game, those kind of things. And so, look, we're looking at a lot of different things to raise revenue, but for now, this is one of the ways that I feel that we give back, mm-hmm. that we say, come in and watch, because the other times we sell tickets, to the other games that we play. Spring game is just an opportunity to do that. Now, after the spring game, we do have the collective, the Champion Circle, is doing a autograph signing with our team, and so that is at a cost that I hope people will stick around, pay for that, so that our student athletes receive the revenue for their NIL revenue for doing that. So that component is not free, but that's because it's a benefit to our student athletes that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, that's definitely want to shout that out. That was just announced yesterday, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that bears repeating and pushing out again, that there will be a signing event
after the game. There'll be a signing with our student athletes in I believe it's in the concourse, or it's in Glick. Mm-hmm. Or in Glick, sorry. Thank you for that clarification,
Alejandro.
It's in Glick, and there'll be an opportunity for our fans to meet, get autographs, I think take pictures with our student athletes and those kind of things. And so please join in on that to support our student athletes, and get them excited. It gets our student athletes excited, whether they get revenue or not, to meet our fans and to connect with our fans. And so it's just a great opportunity for them to do that.
The question of scheduling. I mean, we were just talking about scheduling for the non-conference for basketball. I mean, this is definitely, when you talk about scheduling for non-conference for football, you talk about revenue moving forward. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are wondering, how do you balance the competitive side of it with the revenue side of it? Teams are going to want you to come to their place,
right?
At the same time, you're trying to line your team up for being able to be in playoff contention. So how are you balancing those two initiatives as an athletic director moving forward? Because you're obviously trying to line up as many home games as possible. Yeah. So as you look into the future, kind of give me that. How are you balancing that equation?
Well, the football, unlike basketball, the non-conference is really set 5 to 10. In this case, with the Texas and Oklahoma agreement, I think it's maybe 12 years mm-hmm. From where I sit here, that those contracts were signed. So shortly before I got here, we signed this home and home. I mean, we have a home and home with Notre Dame in 32, 33, 33, 34, something like that coming up, home and home. So we look to play a non-conference opponent in the Power Four if we can, if it makes sense for us to do. We will do that in this game coming up at Oklahoma, and our game against Texas last year at home. All of those things are, games that are good for us, good for our fans. And I think as we develop and see how the CFP is going to play out, if there is a set number of slots for different conferences, I think you'll see that across the board, because people will know you can play those great games for your fans without feeling like it'll hurt me in the selection process, right? I think it adds value when we sit down and talk about teams who play top teams in a non-conference in the CFP. It added a lot of value to the discussion. It has a much higher value in the conversation around who you play, whether you lost that game or not. It does resonate with the committee that you've challenged yourself in that non-conference competition. But it's something that we want for our fan base. I want to try to do. There's sometimes some years where we haven't had that opportunity to have those types of games, but we will continue to look at having those types of competitions, in the non-conference season.
So listen, there is a whenever you sit down, there is a it's like you smiling because it comes with the territory. When you sit down, I got to ask you an update on the notice of allegations. Is there an update on the timeline? Can you give us where things stand? Have there been, as a matter of fact, have there been any proposals? Someone even asked, is there a proposal about a postseason ban that you can speak to?
The process is ongoing. There's not, much I can say about any of that as it relates to where this is. It is ongoing, and we will work through the process. I have not had any conversation about postseason bans or penalties that are coming. What I can point to is that Charlie Baker, when we won the championship, said they won it fair and square.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I can say that gives me some sense that they understand, that this was a team who won that championship fair and square. And so I look at that, and as we move forward, we'll see how it goes, but the process continues.
Yeah, I think we got Buckeyes watching this. That's me talking.
That's all right.
That's me talking.
I'm glad they support your show.
Yeah, they support my show. I don't back down from many questions.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ward, it goes without saying when you talk about success across the athletic department landscape, we continue to see it. And so if you can reflect, I mean, the focus as you sat down today has been on basketball, because that's top of mind. You got two programs that are competing at very high levels right before our eyes, but you can kind of speak to your athletic department as a whole. Yeah, that is really healthy and doing extremely well.
Yeah, it is. I'm so proud of our coaches, my staff, and the student athletes. I mean, what we accomplish and what they accomplish on the fields of play, it's just been remarkable to watch and support. I mean, it takes a great deal of effort to drive the success, but what I am extremely pleased about is the people that we have in this department. I'm grateful for the great support of our board, and President Ono has been unbelievable in both. It's all necessary to continue to drive and to support the success. And so It's a great team effort. And then you know, what is it, 52 championships in the last 5 years. The closest is 28 in the Big Ten. You know, I saw something recently where in the last 5 years, Michigan has won either a football or a basketball championship. I mean, the level of in our biggest sports, right, in people's minds, it goes to the young people on those teams throughout all the 52. And last year, we won, I don't know, I want to say 7 or 9 or something like, I think 7. And we came in second in 9. I mean, so even the teams that, I mean, we set the record at 13. And that last year, if all those teams that finished second won, we set a record again. I mean, so I am so proud to be the athletic director and to have everybody, the type of people we have, as again, coaches, staff, and student athletes in the department. It just gives me a lot of pride in leading this department, a lot of pride when I see the support from the board and the presidents and my colleagues on the executive officers, and the connection and the support we all have, and the love that they have for what our kids are achieving, both on the field and in the classroom and as young people. That's what this is about, man. This is not just about, you know, where you're seated and all those things. It's about watching them. And I can just, as I'm sitting here talking, and it's just as recent as Sunday, to see the smiles on those young men's face, to see the smiles on the coaches, because of what they achieved coming out of a lot of people doubting them because of 3 losses, you know, at the end of the season. And in some ways, they may have doubted themselves a little bit, and then they came out of it, you know. So that's what this is about, man. It's a lot of lessons about life, Sam, as you know. Things don't always go your way. People not always behind you. They're behind you. They're yelling about how bad you are, and they haven't even played the game, you know. And then to come out of it the way we did, it's just amazing to watch. And I'm so happy. And so, you know, all the credit, you know, when people talk to me about it and want to tell me about, you know, what I've accomplished, I always say, you know, the only thing that I've done is help to create an atmosphere where people can succeed. And then they do the rest. And for me, I love and appreciate the fact that they have done so much to drive so much success, and I'm right there with them every step of the way and supporting them every way I can.
Absolutely. Well, hey man, I appreciate you dropping by. I know you had a lot going on this morning.
Yeah, we
made it through, and now you got travel heading out to Denver. So good luck with the trip. Good luck to Kim and the ladies going to South Bend, and Dusty and the men out in Denver. And we'll talk to you next month, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Sam. Go Blue.
All right, folks, we got to get to a break on the radio. To those of you on TMI, we'll